Hey folks, welcome back. For those who don't know me, I'm Marcelo. I am the maintainer I'm helping to maintain Youthcorn and Starlet, and I'm also a FastAPI expert. So yeah, I've decided to create content about it, and it's been some time, and I'm back again. Today I'm going to talk about a new feature of FastAPI, which is called the lifespan state. Well, actually, the lifespan was introduced on FastAPI as well, and the lifespan state was introduced on Starlet and on the Ask spec, and then FastAPI just got it out of the box because we just bumped Starlet. So I'm gonna introduce a bit about it, and I'm gonna show you how useful this feature is. So if we go to the lifespan, so the Ask specification, and we go to lifespan, we're gonna see that this new field was added, this state, which is an empty namespace where the application can persist the state. Maybe we should have used another name here. Instead of persist state, we should have used maybe persist objects, which I think it's more would make more sense, to be used when handling subsequent requests. If missing, the server does not support this feature, meaning that the server needs to provide this state field on the scope of the lifespan, so the application know that the service supports it or not. Yeah, so this was introduced like recently, and it's a very cool feature, and I'm going to show you why. Before that, if you go to the Django SGHF repository, you can see the pull request that was created to add this feature. There's a lot of discussion here, and I am very happy that Adrian is a very patient person, so we could discuss about it. And yeah, so thanks to him, we have this feature now. If I go change my screen because I'm not used to it. Oh, nice. So we are on VS Code. So yeah, so in FastAPI right now, if you want to use something, a feature, like if you want to persist an object during the whole application cycle, you'd use the on event, you use startup, Copilot is great, and you use shutdown to release the resources, right? To close the resources. Yeah, so let's try to run this application just to see how this is working. So waiting for application startup, it's startup run, and the application startup is complete. So right now I'm able to receive requests. I'm gonna have a 404, yeah, because I don't have an endpoint, but yeah, I'm able to receive requests. And if I press, if I just close the server, I have the shutdown being run as well. Yeah, so but anyway, the idea here, what we want to do is to create, imagine that you want to create an object that you want to persist, well, you want to create an object, and then at the end of the application cycle, you want to close the resources, right? So imagine that I have an HTTP client. Let's use HTTPX, and well, let's not start it here. Let's do HTTPX async client. Oops, this is not the right one. Async client. Okay, let's ignore the typing because this is gonna be useful later. So yeah, global client, thank you Copilot, and then I create the client, and then I'm able to use this client on the request. So yep, thank you. No, let me do an HTTP call. Thank you. This works? I think it works. And then let me return just some text to see that it works. So let me run the server. Let me call this endpoint. Good. So yeah, we are able to call this endpoint. We have, oh, nice. Great. And then, yeah, so, and if we want to close this client, we do something like this. Await a close, and then we close the client. The thing is, to do this, here it's kind of okay, but people don't like global objects, and this gets a bit weird when you create, when you need to create an object on the startup event. This might not be perfect. People actually don't like this because it creates global objects, and but this is kind of the way to do it. Well, at least before the lifespan state was introduced. Okay, so let's maintain this here, and let's create the lifespan way right now, like how it should be done nowadays. So I'm gonna create a FastAPI application as well, and you're gonna notice that now FastAPI has this new field, this new parameter called lifespan, which I'm gonna not use it now, and I'm gonna create the lifespan. The lifespan, let me actually from context lib import async context manager. I'm gonna create a context manager, well, an async context manager that will create and destroy my HTTP client. So let's try it. So import HPX as well, and then here I'm gonna do async with HTTP client as client, and I'm gonna return actually let me call it client, and then I'm gonna have a client. A lifespan receives the application as the first parameter, and right now you can either return none or a dictionary that contains any kind of object that you want to use on the whole application cycle. So we're gonna actually use from typing import type dict, which will just actually let's not do it to not complicate stuff. So let's leave it untyped here. Yeah, and then we use this lifespan. So to have an idea, I'm just gonna do the startup here and then print the shutdown here. Good. So right now those two are kind of analogous already. So instead of using the shutdown and the startup, I just use this, and I'm gonna show you how I can use the client on the endpoint. But just to make sure that this works, let's try to run it. Instead of main, we do lifespan, and then it works. If I close the server, it works as well. So you can see both prints. Now we're gonna create an endpoint to see if this is working as expected. Let's create an analogous endpoint. Async def, let's call it root, and then let's get a request, same one. So Copilot actually made a mistake. It's not from app.state, but actually this is a very good question, and then let's actually ask to ourselves later difference between app state and request state. We're gonna talk about it as soon as I finish this comparison here. So actually I'm not gonna retrieve the state from there. I'm gonna retrieve the state from the request. So if I get the request and then state, and then I can use the client. So request object, which is accessed like this. If I import the request, I am able to use the request state client, and then that's it. And then return res.text. So if I run this, it should be working. If I do the HTTP call, it should work as well. Analogous. Okay, so not that difficult. The difference here is that I'm using this request state client. Unfortunately, I'm not able to type annotate very well right now here, because as you see, I'm not aware of what the client is. It's gonna be any, but also I can do this a bit differently. Request dot state and then client. I guess this should work. I'm not sure. Let's see. I think it works. If it doesn't, oh, it works. Great. So this is also cool. It's a different way of using it. I don't think this works though. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah, but this works. So you can use it like this, with as if it was attributes or if it was a dictionary. And yeah, so anyway, so this is the analogous way of doing what we've done here, with the difference that we do not have an object that is global here. It lives through the application. So you create it, you pass it through the with the yield here, and then after it ends, you have the shutdown. So it is very cute to see how this lifespan works. As you see, I'm using 4 lines instead of instead of creating those 2 events, and it makes more sense. You don't need a global object, so it makes it more self-contained, and I really like how this feature was introduced. Thanks to Adrian again, because it took a long time to get merged. So what's the difference between app state and request state? So basically the request state lives through the request, or that was the idea before we introduced this feature. So for example, let's say that I have this, okay, let's call another endpoint, okay? So app get, let's call state, okay? Okay, and then, yeah, let's say that this happens, that I've created a state called foo, and then this happens, okay? So, but actually, if request is state foo is none, or actually has attribute foo, print, actually not has, print I don't have a foo. Okay, if you have a foo, I'm gonna print a foo. Sorry, if you don't have a foo, I'm gonna print I don't have a foo. So if we call this endpoint twice, 1, so I don't have a foo, you see on your left, and I don't have a foo as well. It's because this is actually created on every request, so I'm not gonna be able to have it. On the other side, if I actually print if as attribute state client, print I have a client, this should work. Okay, I have a client. So the thing is, there are 2 things here. One is that this state, well, before this lifespan state was introduced, was one kind of a feature, less complex than it is right now. Before, if you added something on the request response cycle, that was the only thing that you could have there. Now you can have what is introduced from the beginning of the lifespan, like on the startup, and you can have anything that is introduced in any middleware from the application. So for example, if I add a middleware here, let's say class my middleware, I receive an application, and then self app, and then what do? No, let's add something like scope state, and then let's add potato, and then potato. Let's do this. Perfect. So we're gonna have a potato key right now, a field called potato, and this is added on each request. So if I do if has attribute request state, and then I add potato, print I have a potato. This should also be true. I don't have a potato, but I should have a potato. Which mistake did I do here? Oh, no, it should be fine. So print scope request. If I do this, what happens? I only have the async client. Hold on, I'm making some mistake here. Let me see. Print scope state. Oh, I'm sorry, that's so dumb. So I forgot to add this, my middleware here. Yeah, so middleware from FastAPI import middleware. From FastAPI middleware. Oops, middleware. Perfect. So middleware, and then middleware my middleware. Yes. So close, perfect. So yeah, you see, everybody makes mistakes. So yeah, now I have a potato. It makes more sense now. Yeah, so let me delete those. So basically, this is gonna live through the whole request response cycle. I have the potato now. And then let me close this. So you see that it survives through the whole application, so to the whole request response cycle. Let me remove the middleware. Anyway, right now, if you create an object on the lifespan and you pass it, this is gonna be a shallow copy of the object. So this is client that's gonna be passed, a shallow copy of the object, and then you have it everywhere. But also the things that you add on the request response cycle, you also have it. Okay, so let's what do we want to do? So yeah, this is the request thing, and the application state is something like you can add at the beginning. So app.state, and then you do like potato and then potato. I guess this worked. To be honest, I've never used this feature, and so let's see, return request.app.state, and let's see what it's returned. Yeah, you see the state potato here. It's the thing that is returned over there. So yeah, so if I do potato, it should return only potato. That's right, right. So this is one thing. So this is the difference. One, it's creating from the application itself, and the other lives on the request response cycle. But right now with the lifespan, this app.state becomes a bit useless because the lifespan makes that you can create at startup, which is kind of the goal of this one. So my advice is to not use the app.state, which is also one of the thoughts that we are having, is that to not have this feature anymore on Starlet and FastAPI, because it's kind of useless now that you have the lifespan state, right? So anyway, this is what I wanted to introduce. I'm not sure how long did this video took. 18 minutes. I'm not sure if it's too much. If it is, I'm sorry. And yeah, please give me a feedback, and thank you for watching all the stuff, and follow me everywhere, write comments and stuff, and thank you.